Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back to All for United. Manchester United have gone to the San Siro, cancelled out that away goal and gone through to the quarterfinals of the Europa League thanks to a superb impact from Paul Pogba off the bench, coming back from his injury for 6 weeks. And he's back, straight back into the team, coming off the bench in a game where we really needed some injection of creativity. The first half, yet again, was a really disappointing start from us. And we needed someone like a Paul Pogba to come on. And as the headline says down there, he sent us into the quarterfinal. And the question I'm asking tonight is that on? Europa League champions of the world, is it on? Is it not? Is it just me chatting absolute nonsense again? We'll find out. We don't want to repeat of the Champions League, of course. Anyway, for all of you joining, get in the comments. Let me know how you're doing. We've got an awesome lineup of people coming on here to chat about the game. Make sure to like the video. Make sure if you're watching on Facebook or Twitter, head over to youtube.com/allforunited. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button and show us some love. And like the video if you're feeling good that Manchester United have won. How about that? And hopefully we should have every single one of you liking the video. Anyway, our first guest today is an absolute legend. He's a former Red. Sadly had to go out of the game because of an injury. He played at Exeter for a bit as well. And he's currently my dissertation supervisor. How about that? It is the very own Alan Tong. How are you doing, Alan?
Hi, Karthik. You okay?
First question to you. You're always positive about United, no matter whatever happens. How are you feeling at the end of that first half? Because I was thinking this is a little bit ropey.
Yeah, it was poor, wasn't it? Really bad, really poor performance. Nothing really happening. Started off all right, first 5 or 10 minutes, managed to get a bit of possession, and then AC sort of came into a little bit and played some nice stuff. They were quite neat and tidy, but they didn't really threaten a lot. But yeah, you're right, Karthik. I think at the end of that first half, I thought, well, I don't think we can do any worse than that. So I was expecting a little bit of a response, and we managed to come back into it second half and do the business.
Were you agreeing with most of the fan base? Because when I was looking online at halftime and I saw a lot of things about McTominay and Fred. First of all, I want to ask you, what do you think of them as a pairing, and how do we upgrade on that? And the second, how big of an impact did Paul Pogba make for you?
Yeah, I think McTominay's he's come on well. I think he's quite a solid player. He's a decent passer. He's got good physicality. He can break stuff up. Fred, for me, he's a bit up and down. He's okay at times, but on other occasions, he's a bit sloppy with his passing. So he needs to sharpen that part of his game up. As a pair, not bad. I think we can do better. I mean, we're United at the end of the day, and you expect quality in every position. But I'll give him the benefit of the doubt tonight because going away to Milan and getting a result like that is very decent. I think quite a few people again were kind of lining up and expecting a disappointing result tonight, and we was under a little bit of pressure, and especially after letting that late equaliser in at Old Trafford. So to come away with that with a clean sheet and take a 1-0 win is a really decent scalp and a decent result to take away with us.
Yeah, and in terms of Pogba then, did you expect him to come on, first of all, off the left? Because a lot of people have different opinions about where Pogba should play, what his best position is, who he should play with. Did you agree with where he came on, and how pleased were you with his performance when he came on?
Well, he came on for Marcus. Marcus has been struggling a bit, hasn't he, over this last week or two? I know he's been sort of like being battered around a little bit. He's struggling with a shoulder problem, and then I think he had something. His ankle was strapped up before the game tonight that the physio was messing about with, and so I think Marcus Rashford is kind of like he's been a bit of a warrior at the moment. I think he needs maybe a little rest, Marcus, to try and refresh him up a little bit and get that sort of vim and vigour back. Pogba, when he came on the left-hand side, he did really well. We've seen him like this before, haven't we, in that position? I think a season or two ago, he came on at Goodison Park when we went to Everton, and he really shone. And coming in on that sort of left-hand side to sort of fill in there, he got involved in it. He's not been involved for quite a number of weeks, hasn't he? So to come on and do that, and take the goal, take his chance the way he did, is all credit to him. And after being out for a period of time, he could have really panicked in that, because it was really early on in the second half, wasn't it? And and there was a bit of pinball there in AC Milan's box, and I think Fred got a toe onto it. And to show that composure and that sort of little dummy that he threw in, and then slot it home, all credit to him, especially after being out for a period of around 6 weeks.
Yeah, definitely. And I thought we were equally as good at the back, because this defence has come under a lot of criticism. From me especially, I've said, we need to improve defensively if we want to go and win a title. But as Brown Knight says, Victor Lindelof was superb today, possibly one of his best games in the United shirt, and probably should have been man of the match. Do you agree with that? And what do you make of our defensive pairing?
Yeah, I think it's like anything else, Karthik, isn't it? It's it's an important part of the team, isn't it, to get your back four sorted out. Luke Shaw's coming to a really good bit of form at the moment, and he's warranted his England call up, so he started to play well. And Bailly's been in and out, hasn't he? Sort of trying to make that sort of defensive partnership with Harry Maguire, and unfortunately he's been injured again. So it's kind of like Lindelof and Maguire, they're okay. I think they were very, very solid tonight. I think like the lad who sort of texted in has said, I think he deserved that man of the match or award, or he put in a decent performance. So to come to the San Siro and to go away with a clean sheet, from a back four perspective, and maybe the coach's perspective as well. I think that's a decent feather in the cap for Man United tonight, and like I said earlier, it's a decent scalp to take, because that was no easy task tonight, but we've managed to do the business and get into the quarter-final draw tomorrow.
Yeah, and you mentioned feather in the hat, and there's another comment here from Jarvis who says it looks like our team has matured. Would you say that's about right in terms of getting over this kind of hurdle? And does that give you any confidence that, for example, if we got to a semi-final, which we've not really gotten past under Ollie yet, does that give you confidence to say this team's growing a little bit, and maybe when we do get to that stage, we can go one step further and go and win the thing?
Yeah, I think a trophy is really important, isn't it, for Ollie and United and the fans as well. We've knocked on the door last season, got to a few semi-finals, didn't quite get over the line with them. So I think getting that trophy, that sort of something in the bank, will kind of, it'll just give us a little bit of space, or give Ollie a bit of space and time, and something to really drive on and really build upon. So I think that's really important. And yeah, I think like I say, it's just, I think it was a very decent win tonight, and I think that should give us a bit of confidence going forwards. And if, like I say, if we can keep these clean sheets and keep that defence sorted out. I mean, Henderson's come in and done a good job, hasn't he? So he'll probably, it gives Ollie a bit of pressure there now. Does he bring De Gea back in? Does he keep Henderson in? And over this last few weeks that Henderson's come in, he's done really well. So maybe he deserves a run in the side now. And it's all about getting a real settled back four and a good core of the side, isn't it? Get your two centre halves sorted, get your midfielders sorted, get your forwards sorted, and get that core right, and then build around it. So we've got a decent record, Karthik. If you look at the away form now, I think it's something like we've only lost 2 of the last 36 games away from home, and I think those were both in the Champions League, if my memory serves me right. I think one was Leipzig, and I think one was the Turkish side. Was it? It was
Istanbul. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got to give credit where it's due. If you look at some of the team's data and Ollie's data, it's pretty credible. It's not bad at all. Like only losing 2 out of 36 away, it's not bad, is it? But United, we need, it's demanding, it's tough, and ultimately, we want to be challenging. We want to be up the top of the Premier League. We want to be challenging for trophies, because that's what the club and the supporters demand of the players.
Definitely. And finally, before we say goodbye, final question: looking at whoever's left in the tournament, obviously we saw Spurs go out today. We saw Arsenal just about scrape it through. We've beaten 2 of probably one of the stronger teams left in the tournament, and we've seen them through. You'd say comfortably, but fairly comfortably. Do you see anyone else that could potentially challenge us to win the tournament itself?
I think we're in a good position, Karthik. I think we've got a bit of confidence going now. I think probably Ajax, they're usually decent, aren't they? They've got a specific identity. They keep the ball well, and they've always got some tidy players in there, so they would be a threat. Arsenal, I'm not too worried about those if we sort of drew them. I think we can sort them out. So hopefully going into the quarter-final draw, Karthik, hopefully confidence is high now and we can keep pushing along and maybe bypass the semi-finalists and get into the final somewhere and bring a trophy home for the supporters. How good would that be?
Absolutely. And basically, for everyone who's wondering, what Alan's just said is Europa League Champions of the World is on. Thank you for coming on, Alan. It's been absolutely brilliant to have you on. Everyone go follow Alan. His Twitter's on screen for you. He tweets some absolutely fantastic stuff. Look out for his lineup predictions. Those are my favourite tweets. They're absolutely brilliant. Thank you for coming on, Alan. I'm sure we'll see you.
Karthik. Take care.
Thank you. Right, that was Alan. Fantastic to have him on. Hopefully my dissertation looks looking all right, Alan, by the way. Anyway, we've got some fantastic guests coming up. We've got Hammer coming on next. But before we do that, I want everyone to like the video right now because it costs you absolutely nothing unless you're on some weird version of YouTube, whatever. But like the video now. And let's have a look at some comments before we get Hammer on. Agreed, Lindelof, man of the match. Everyone, lots of love for Victor Lindelof in the comments today, which I absolutely love. Brown Knight says, hit like if you think Dean Henderson deserved man of the match today. Interesting shot. Hang on a minute, I've just seen the rest of his comments. He's just listed like 5 different players. Never mind. I thought he was actually going for an actual shout here. What else? There shouldn't be a trade-off between what? I don't know what he's talking about. Don't want to focus on the negatives after a fantastic win, but guys, Fred is so awful. Can't complete basic passes, can't trap the ball, can't shoot, no game intelligence. Sorry, just needed to get that off. No, I don't blame you for saying that because I think everyone can agree that Fred's not been in the best of form. He was better last season, which is why I keep saying Fred last season was a lot better than he was this season. And I can't point out why, and I can't point out why it's not going so well for him. But there is a player there, which is why I think he's a good squad rotation player. And I've said this for a couple of years now. If we get to the point where Fred is our rotation player that we bring in for someone to have a rest, we've reached a good point in our squad depth then, haven't we? If he's the one that we're leading to for rotation purposes. So you can still have him around, but you shouldn't be starting every game. And he didn't play well today, so I agree with you. But we'll see what Hammer has to say. I'm going to bring him on in 3, 2, 1. He's here. Love having you on, Hammer. How you doing, mate? Well, we'll start on Fred then. Fred and McTominay. What did you make of the midfield pairing today? Because everyone seems to be on their back in the last couple of games. Where do you stand on it?
Well, so, I think what you were saying right before I came on is one of the important things, right? That's why we're all talking about bringing in that defended midfielder. But yeah, man, I think, again, right, it goes to just have the personnel we have at the club, right? Nobody else can, when they're playing well, they're the two that can do the job that Ole needs them to do, right? And in that same breath, I do think if Paul is coming back and fully healthy, I would rather see Paul and Scott over Paul and Fred. But again, I think it goes down to the personnel. It's what Ole is looking for in the team, and it's what the two of them can bring. But like you said, if we get that defensive midfielder and then I think it drops both of them to the bench, and then we go in with the one holding midfielder. And if we keep Paul, it would be Bruno and Paul in front of that. And I think having Fred and Scott as rotation players and players to come on and help finish off a game is better than definitely having them starting, every game. And Fred was killing me today, man. Everything from his dribbling touches to his passes to his headers were just atrocious. And that's just being nice, I think.
And in terms of obviously Paul Pogba's going to steal the headlines with what he did when he came on. But in terms of the position he came on in, I feel like I need to discuss this because I know it was a topic of debate before Pogba got injured, and then now when he's back, he's come on in a similar position on the left. Do you agree with where he's being played at the minute? Because it seems to give him a bit more freedom.
Yeah, well, I think today was just a little bit of a forced thing too, right? He came on for Rashford being injured, or actually, I'm going to say hurt because there's a difference between hurt and injured in sports. And I'm a little bit worried that they took him off because it was borderlining on injury. So we're going to see what happens this weekend. But in terms of Paul, I think Ole wants to play Fred and Scott because when they're having a good game defensively, it's a very solid base. So yeah, when it comes down to open positions and seeing getting the best out of Paul, it might be in the left in the current system because, and I heard the announcers that on the stream that I was watching, right, it's a 3-1 at the top. So they were saying Paul is used to playing in a 4-3-3 on the left side of a 3 midfielder. Well, that's going to be the closest to playing in his best if you look at it, right? Because it's the 3 behind the 1, so he's playing on the left side of a 3. So I think with how Ole wants to set up and is probably going to set up for the rest of the season, even if Paul's fully healthy, that might be the best position for Paul right now. And since we're struggling on the right side, maybe put Paul on the left and see what happens.
Interesting, because
can I just say something real quick?
Go on.
Ugly Bear, why do you ask me if I think Paul was juicing? And he's not juicing, because that would just be dumb in terms of sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, when you say juicing, what do you mean?
Steroids, like Ugly Bear says. Ugly Bear is
just making sure.
Yeah, just he's in the comments like, "Oh, Paul's looking a little big. Do you think he's juicing?" No.
He's probably just been in the gym because he's been injured and he's got to get back to fitness, whatever. In terms of other performances, then, because obviously it wasn't just Pogba. There was a difference between the first and second half, especially when Pogba came on. What do you think we didn't do in the first half that made us play so well in the second?
Ball retention was, I think, a big part of it in the first half. Right, every 2 or 3 touches, the ball was getting taken away, and everybody, and I give props to the defense tonight. I give credit to them. I feel like I'm somebody who criticizes Harry a lot, criticizes Maguire, and he was on point today. And yes, Lindelof was great today. But yeah, I think giving the ball away so much in the midfield with the loose passing and I felt like we were trying a little too much in some situations where we should have been trying to keep the ball and build something. And it was just, and it was just too much that we were giving away, and it was too much pressure going on the defense. But again, you got to give the defense their credit for handling it, But that's what it was in the first half. It was just too much giving it away, too much sloppiness, and we just didn't see. Actually, another thing that I want to point out in the first half too, we were going forward and we did get those opportunities. We seemed lost. I felt like there were times where I saw like some of our attackers literally looking around, being like, "What the hell happened?" Y'all seemed lost. Nobody was on the same wavelength. Nobody was on the same page. So I guess it was just another slow start.
Yeah, no, I agree. In terms of the retention thing, I think that's really important, and I say it every week. I'm getting bored of saying it almost, but I'm sure people are getting bored of me hearing it. But now people are starting to realize just how important it is in terms of what we're doing on the ball, because it's being limited by the personnel we have there, and it's been clear for quite a while now. But people are starting to realize, because they're jumping on the Fred and McTominay bandwagon in terms of they're so bad they shouldn't be playing. They're starting to realize that, hang on a minute, they shouldn't be playing because of what they're doing, because we're not good enough moving the ball quick enough, or because we don't have movement off the ball, or because this and that. Well, I've been saying it for ages, and now you're finally seeing it. And you know what? I'm glad people are realizing it, because we're moving away from, oh, he's shit, he shouldn't play, to, well, he doesn't suit our system at this moment in time, and and so on and so forth. Yeah. Fred is limited, but he always puts in a shift, says Jarvis. Great squad player. Give the man some slack and he will pay us back with sweat and blood. No, I agree 100%, but we're allowed to criticise him when he's been poor, and he has been poor. You can't get away from that. I'll ask you the question that I asked Alan then, in terms of the rest of the tournament. We've beaten Sociedad, we've beaten Milan, 2 very strong teams. As Alan mentioned, there's still Ajax, there's also Roma, Arsenal looking all right in this tournament. Is Europa League champions of the world on?
I think if we get a little bit healthier in terms of the attack and things like that, even when we are healthy, some of our guys, a good amount of our guys don't really have their shooting boots on right now, if you will. But if we get healthier and we're playing to the level that the talent of this team has in terms of potential, yeah, I don't see any reason why we don't go all the way in this tournament. The only way I would see us not going all the way in this tournament in terms of us being fully healthy and playing well is if Ole, for some reason, after making it to this point, decides to only care about top 2 in FA Cup, which I doubt it, because he needs a trophy, so he needs to be in for as many trophies as he can, and these are the only 2 left. So.
Yeah, and in terms of the fact that he needs a trophy, do you see any importance on which trophy it is? Because I saw a tweet from Joe earlier in the week where he said, the FA Cup doesn't really matter in terms of, league position and things like that. And there's some people that value certain trophies above others. Do you think the Europa League is the one that we should say, okay, that's the bigger one than the FA Cup? Or do you think it's just a case of a trophy is a trophy, go win one?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think part of it depends on how confident we all are that we have I would prefer us to stay in second the whole time, but at least top 4 secured. If you think that it's secured already, then for me, it wouldn't matter as much. One of my other reasons is that I want to make sure we're in the best position for Champions League next season as well. So yes, me only getting a trophy is important overall, but it's also looking to the future of next season. And to be honest, it's also looking to the future summer in terms of signing people, right? One of the other things that I think people take into consideration but don't talk about or think about a lot is that we got to win to attract players, right? So we can win the FA Cup, we can get second, or we can win the Europa and we can get second, or whatever you guys would prefer. But the point is, we need to be in the best position and say, hey, look, we were up there in second. If you come in, you could get us over the hump, as well as also say we might have been just in second, but we were willing to win a trophy and lift the trophy to tell that player, yeah, look, we can finish a final. Because that's another thing that I'm sure some players are looking at in terms of wanting to lift a trophy and have trophies in their locker in terms of their career is we haven't made it past semifinals in the last few ones we got to. So getting through that final hump, lifting a trophy and showing that we're a few players away and being able to go to a player and say, you might be that player who can get us to the next point in terms of, attracting people in the future and just having, I don't know, man. It's just, sorry. I started going on a rant in my head and I think I kind of thought further than my mouth was going.
No, I do agree with you when you say that top four is important and you want to make sure that's secured, because a lot of people jump on you when you say that and they go, well, we're Manchester United, we shouldn't be looking at top four. But I would say, hang on a minute, look back over the years. Back over the years, we've only been in the Champions League in 2 consecutive years, once since Sir Alex Ferguson left. So is finishing in the top four so bad? Is it also so bad to make that a priority?
No, and also I think this is a great point. I've been thinking about bringing up this point at a show that I've been on. I just haven't found a good window to put it in. I understand what everybody's saying when they say that, right? Yes, we're united. We should be at the fucking challenging top of the mountain all the time. But there's also reality, right? And unfortunately, one of the things that I think about a lot is like greatness, not in terms of sports, but also in terms of life. And one of my definitions is greatness is a painstaking process of consistency over an extended period of time. And that is the definition and the epitome of what Sir Alex Ferguson did in his time. But with that being said, he brought us to such heights that I think everybody will agree right now that we've fallen from in terms of success and trophies and where we're supposed to be, that it is even more difficult to get back to what Sir Alex brought us to, right? So I understand everybody's frustration because we're used to being the club, right? We're used to being Manchester fucking United, and you come into the theater of dreams and you're scared before you even walk out the tunnel. But reality is we're no longer that. Reality is, especially in some of the last few seasons, and actually this season, right? Because we've been talking about in our away form so much. The reality is people come into Old Trafford looking for points. So we're trying to get back to a point that Sir Alex left us at, that we've massively fallen from. That is a insane level to try to achieve. So I think everybody needs to take a breath, and I understand what they want us to achieve, but it takes a process. Achieving greatness isn't an overnight thing.
No, 100% agree with you. That is, in fact, you know what? You've hit the nail on the head there, and I think that's the best way to say goodbye to you. Hammer, absolutely brilliant once again. You're always coming on here and spitting facts. Everyone, go follow Hammer and go check out his podcast as well because he's doing some awesome stuff.
Yes.
And cheers for coming on. I'm sure we'll see you soon. So cheers. See you in a bit,
man. Have a good night.
That was Hammer. We've got 3 more guests coming up. The next one is another fellow spectacled human being. He's good with words. I don't know why I've described him as a spectacled human being. That's a weird way to describe someone. I'm just going to bring him on now before this gets any weirder. Before I do that, make sure to like the video. How many likes are we on? Let's have a look. Speaking of Luke, how good was Luke Shaw again, by the way? He should have gotten himself an assist if someone actually busted a gut and got into the box. 17 likes. Let's get 3 more to 20. You know what? I'll hit the like button and make it 18. There we go. Let's get 2 more and get to 20. Yeah, let's do that very, very quickly. Oh my God, I've just seen it. I've just seen a fantastic comment, but I'll ask James about it first. James, welcome to the stream. How are you doing, mate? Sorry I called you a spectacled human being. That's a bit weird from me. How are you feeling that we've gone through?
Relieved. I think I wasn't very confident going into the wasn't that confident going into the game given the lineup that we had and everything. But yeah, I think relieved more than anything. This is a good Milan side. We've seen that. You have to be a decent side to get to second in the table in Italy. So yeah, I'm pleased. Not necessarily with the performance, but just pleased with the result.
Yeah, and in terms of that performance thing and, with getting the result, we've mentioned about how this team might be maturing. Do you see any signs of a mentality developing within this team to get over the line even if you're not performing well enough? Or do you think this is maybe just a one-off?
I think that's what I was pleased to see towards the end of the game. The sort of game management in that we were winning a lot of fouls in the AC Milan half. That's something that goes on a bit under the radar. It really helps to disrupt the fluidity of the game just when AC Milan are trying to build something. But yeah, you saw with like 5 minutes ago, we're taking it into the corner rather than trying to play 60-yard crossfield balls for James to run onto, which would eventually lead to us losing the ball. So I'm very happy with the way we approached the last 10 minutes. Was very worried that we'd have a repeat of last week. So yeah, I think that is a sign of maturing, because we've seen multiple times, even this season, when we're trying to see out games and we just do stupid things that are completely unnecessary at the end of games, and it comes back to haunt us. So hopefully it's not a one-off by any means, but yeah, I think we are.
And also, before I ask you some serious football questions, are your mates in the comments or something here? James Ridge eats big dinners. 20 likes and I'll hoover James's room. Big old dinners for you tonight. James Ridge, duel me like a gentleman for a spot on the podcast. And also, can we play Who's Got the Sweatiest Chest again tonight? You know what? Your mates are absolute legends. Everyone liked the video, and James gets his room hoovered, and maybe we'll get an appearance from one of them. You've got some good friends, I can see there. Anyway, back to the football. We've spoken about McTominay and Fred, and we spoke about how Paul Pogba came on and changed the game. But do you think this might have been a game where Donny van de Beek could have come on and done something? Because I thought that at one point, that maybe when Pogba came on the left, I thought, is this now a sign that we could see Van de Beek come on? Because Fred's not been playing great. He could have come on there. Were you thinking the same thing?
Yeah, I was thinking. I think he probably would have come on if we didn't get that goal so early on. I think it was probably fair enough to leave Fred and McTominay on, given that we did all we needed to do and we got that goal and we just needed to defend. I think bringing on Donny would have possibly been an unnecessary risk to both the result and himself. Obviously, he's coming back from a bit of a layoff, so you don't want to rush him back by any means. But yeah, I was sort of, when Pogba came on, I was hopeful that we'd see Donny as well. But to get a goal that quick and put the game to bed in that sense, I think it was probably the right call, keeping him off, get him back to full fitness and give him a start, in my opinion.
Yeah, and in terms of Pogba on the left, I think I've asked you this before, but I'll hang on a minute. We've hit 21 likes, and as the comment says, James is getting his room hoover tonight. Keep it going with the likes. So I'm expecting one of your mates to walk in with a hoover at any point, and I'll be absolutely buzzing. What was I about to ask you? Oh, Pogba on the left. Do you agree with that decision? Because I feel like it's an important question to ask. And is this somewhere that not only gives us a little bit more creativity, but it also gives us a little bit more room with the rotation, doesn't it? Because now you can rest. Oh, here we go. We've got someone coming in with a hoover. Is that someone coming in with a hoover?
Yes, technically, yeah, he has got hoover.
He's got his hoover in his room. I absolutely love that. That's fantastic. Oh my god, we've got to do the rest of the show with him hoover in your room. Anyway, as I was saying,
turn it on in a sec.
Is it? Love it. You know what? I'm just going to let this happen. We're just going to watch you. Love it. Is he gone? Is that it? Is he done?
I think so, yeah.
That's a terrible job of hoover in your room, by the way.
Yeah,
I'm going to criticise him for that. What was I asking? Oh, Paul Pogba on the left, good or bad?
He played brilliantly well. I was amazed by how much of an impact he had out on that left. I think that's because he tended to drift inside a bit, but seeing him come on the left was horrendous. I was, cowering behind the sofa in a sense of the fact that we didn't have any domination of that midfield, and you bring on Pogba and you don't even play him in midfield. So, I was worried, but I was very surprised by how well he played and the impact he was able to have, to be fair.
Yeah, and with regards to the midfield balance, now the big conversation at the minute is McTominay and Fred. Where do you stand on that? Because a lot of us have said they're good in certain games. Where do you stand on it? Do you think they shouldn't be there at all, or do you think there's a use for them?
I think we saw exactly why we're just worried he's coming back now. That's right.
He's got the request. He's seen the request.
We saw exactly what they're good at when we went a goal up, because I think they really came into the game at that point. I think when we're chasing the game, they were horrendous. The lack of passing ability really cost us. And Fred in particular was really frustrating in the first half in the fact that he couldn't string a pass together. But second half, the defensive cover they gave us was crucial, and they're a big reason why we saw the game out as well as we did. So I think, like you say, that they're probably good for certain types of games and not others. They can be a big asset to this team, but not every week. I think moving forward.
And quickly before you Hoover takes over the stream, because apparently it had some great points. We've seen a lot of praise for the defence, Lindelof, Maguire, particularly Lindelof, who had a very good game today. We've said that, well, I've said that our defence isn't good enough to win the league. Do you think it's good enough to stay solid enough to give us a chance at winning this tournament? Because I keep putting out Europa League champions of the world, but we've beaten two of the better teams. Surely we're in with a chance now.
Yeah, I think the thing that's worrying me is our defensive record against big teams is a lot better than it is against lesser teams, and we're seeing less and less big teams in this competition as the weeks go on because we keep knocking them out. So my worry is that we'll get complacent against maybe a Granada or someone along those lines, and they'll just nick a goal against us, and that'll be that. That's my main worry. But we've seen that we saw last season as well. This is a good defence. I think that with Henderson behind them, not sure exactly what's going on, but they do seem to be a bit more confident. Seem to allow a little bit more space in behind them, knowing that he's there to sweep up. But yeah, I think it's a defence that's growing in confidence, and I'm glad because we did look in a very bad way at the start of the season defensively. So, touch wood, we should be all good because I think the quality of the competition this year is a lot worse than it was last season as well. Obviously, Sevilla and Inter in the final. I don't think there's really any teams in it left other than maybe us that are at their level. So, hopefully we've got enough. I'm fairly confident that we have that.
40 likes, and Jacob will talk about Birmingham. As much as I'd love to see that happen, I'm going to have to say goodbye to James because his time, unfortunately, his slot is over. So thank you for coming on. Make sure to go and check him out. His Twitter's on screen. Go follow him, and obviously go follow his work elsewhere. So thank you very much for coming on, and we'll see you soon, mate.
Cheers. Thank you.
And say hello to the Hoover for me.
I will. It'll be
Make sure he does a better job.
All right.
He owes you a proper hoovering of your room. Right, I'll see you in a bit, mate.
See you in a bit.
Right, that was James and his Hoover and his housemates, which was fantastic to watch. I'm sure that'll be getting clipped up and posted later. Thank you very much, Ben. Everyone liked the video then. How many likes are we on? Let's have a little check. There is about 26 of you watching, and I want every single one of you to like the video because we are on 23. There's 3 of you that haven't liked it yet. Go like the video. Give us some support. We're going to have our next guest on come on in the next couple of minutes. Let's have a look at the comments. I've not been there for a while, so let's have a look. Someone's been blocked. I don't know what they've been saying, but they have been blocked. I need to go past all these comments from his housemates. Replacing Fred should be a priority. There's a lot of holes that need to be filled. Centre back, right back, right wing, defensive midfield, and striker. You've named pretty much every position other than attacking midfield and left back. That's a little bit worrying. Is our squad really that bad? Do you reckon? Get in the comments. Let me know. Do you think our squad is really that lacking in terms of depth? Because I think defense and holding midfield and on the right wing is probably where we like the depth most. I think striker can get by for another year. But I don't know. It depends on whether Cavani stays or not, of course, but we'll see. Karthik 24. Karthik's Wi-Fi is off again. What do you mean? It's on 24 now. Oh, it's updated itself. That's why. Sorry about that. Pog back says Kagiso. I'm not even going to try and pronounce your surname. I wonder what Donny did to Ollie. Absolutely nothing. Right? No. Before I bring on the next guest, I need to address this because this is absolutely stupid. This talk about Donny van de Beek wanting to leave and all this about him being upset with him not playing. Of course he's going to be upset with not playing. He's a professional footballer playing for Manchester United. Of course he's going to be upset with not playing. That doesn't mean he's not going to stay. We all heard that he only joined because he had a conversation with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer himself. Ollie's probably he's not going to go and lie to him to go and sign him, is he? Because that's not going to be sustainable. He's probably told him the truth. He's probably said, look, for the first season, you might not get that much game time. You're probably going to have to work your way into it. You're going to have to compete with Paul Pogba and Bruno Fernandes. Maybe he's even told him that Pogba's going to have a role on the left and he's going to have to come in and play in the middle with someone. Maybe when we sign a holding midfielder. Maybe he's told him Paul Pogba's going to leave and Donny van de Beek's the next man to come in. I don't know. But something was said that made Van de Beek want to sign. And that's what's happened. So trust the manager, trust Donny van der Beek's judgment, and we'll see what happens. Let's not rush to any conclusions. And also, John Gray, I am not displaying that comment because that will get me in trouble. Instead, I'm going to bring on Mark, who's going to tell me why we're going to win the Europa League.
Hello, mate. Good evening. Yeah, it was a very slow start, wasn't it? First half was a lot of what we'd seen over the last few weeks, but the second half, Mr. Paul Pogba came on and totally changed the game, didn't he? Yeah, he was phenomenal. I mean, I think he got the highest rated in the match, but I think, as everyone's mentioned, Lindelof, 2 or 3 occasions defended, cleared his lines very, very well. But yeah, I mean, the second half we looked much better. Even in the second half, I know Fred in the first half was pretty poor, gave the ball away a bit, just looked a little bit hapless. But even with Paul coming on after half time, Fred upped his game as well, which was good to see as well. He's been on a bit of poor form recently. But look, I said this last week. I felt that Ollie would turn it around. Now, I know that it was the smallest of margins, but he did. And we need to sort of congratulate, be as excited and give as much positivity as we do on the flip side, right? And I'm pleased. I mean, you're absolutely right. We haven't beaten 2 minnows. We've beaten 2 very good teams, and we should be pleased with that. As I mentioned last week, I feel that it could have been a disastrous week for us. We've managed to get through one of them. We've got another one this weekend against Leicester, and it could bode well into being a very good week. It wasn't the prettiest of games, but we got the job done, and that's ultimately what it's all about.
Yeah, and you said, obviously, Paul Pogba came on, made the impact, probably raised performances around him a little bit more. How much did we miss him in recent weeks? Because I've been saying that we miss a proper ball carrier, a proper creative spark other than Bruno. How much do you think we've missed him, and how important is it that we have him back?
Yeah, huge amount. Look, Paul Pogba doesn't just bring you quality on the pitch. He probably brings a lot of enthusiasm and positivity to the team too. So I think the players, knowing that he was coming on, knowing how much the fans would have been sort of talking in one way or another, would have really jeered them on, to be honest. And I think I've said many times myself, Karthik, he's a huge player for us, and he certainly has been this season, especially after the first 2 months. He's been probably our best player, even with Bruno. Bruno hasn't really been on point now for several months, whereas when Pogba was playing, he was very much on point. My feelings for Paul is, and I've said this so many times, I really enjoy watching him play at the top left there. I feel that whilst he can do a good job in the midfield, I think that it brings out this flair player that everyone believes Paul Pogba to be. The Paul Pogba that we saw at Juventus, that his numbers weren't as good as they have been at United. He was playing further up on that left-hand side and was that flair player. What I mean by that is when you're further forward and you're sort of in the pockets and on the left-hand side, you're going to be able to have more advantages and be able to take more opportunities to score goals, to create chances. And that's what we see when he plays up on the top, on the left. And that's my preferred place for him. I feel that, in a game like this today, you could have had either one of McTominay or Fred playing as a DM. Probably not McTominay. I think we've worked that out over the last few months. Fred at a push. Matic, obviously, we've already spoken about, a bit past it. I'm surprised Van der Beek maybe didn't come on. He could play further forward as well with Bruno. And then you have Pogba on the left. He's another go-to man to have that. Now that we've got him back, if Rashford isn't all fit at the moment and has got his issues, we do have that other player that can play on the left, not so much on the right. And that's exactly what he did today. He sort of instilled that injection today, and it was really good to see. And I really want, I've not always been Paul Pogba's biggest fan. I've got just as frustrated about his comments, but ultimately he's playing brilliant. And I know he's been out for a couple of months, but he's been one of our best players this season, and he should be, regardless of whether he's going to go or not, told so, that he's been brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. And as Skeptic says, Mark is a walking positive sign. Well, he should be. We've just won a game of football, so why not? And also, Mark's tropical freshwater aquarium book looks like a good read. And I can see it there. It's towards his left.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
brilliant.
Well, we're going to put a fish tank in there, actually. So we put that in there for now, but I probably should have thought about that. But anyway.
Fair enough. Hey, that's a good place to put it. There's a good discussion going on about Donny van der Beek, and I think we should touch on it a little bit. Jarvis says he's not performed yet. United isn't Ajax, and he must prove himself to get game time, which is fair enough, I guess. There's also another comment from Kagiso that says, "Are you telling me that Scott and Fred are better than Donny? How would we know if he's ready or not if he doesn't play?" And there's also a comment that I liked from Sir Macaulay that says, Donny reminds me of Ander Herrera under Louis van Gaal. Donny will do great things for this club, but patience is needed. He has already one thing going for him, which is the love of the fans. Where do you stand on it? Because there are some good points being made there, because he is better than Scott and Fred. But would that upset the balance? There's things you have to take into that account. You have to take into the fact that, yes, the Premier League is different, but also he's playing in the Champions League. Where do you stand? Because there's lots of arguments for and against, but there's no real balanced outcome, is there?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think, unfortunately for Donny, he's no longer playing at Ajax, and I think probably, there's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I think part of it is that Donny thinks he's still playing for Ajax. It is a very different system, and it's something that he's got to get used to. You're absolutely right. Earlier, I'm sure Ollie had the phone call with him to convince him to come, and he wouldn't have lied to him. There's absolutely, that's, as you say, it's not sustainable. Listen, for any of you that have seen me before, I am a huge fan of Donny van der Beek, and I want nothing more than for him to come good, prove everyone wrong. But we aren't huge analysts of the game. Unfortunately, he has not had enough game time yet. And he, he is a number 10. And when at the moment, when we play the double pivot and then a number 10 in front, how are you going to put someone into the team that's going to take Bruno out of the team? You just can't, right? So because of the system that Ollie plays, we haven't really got the opportunity to accommodate him. And I think that, going forward, as we mentioned before, Karthik getting a lone defensive midfielder, which I think is a huge priority, you would then be able to play the likes of Donny van der Beek, Bruno, Pogba further forward, and McTominay too. Yeah. So I think it's just been a series of unfortunate events for him, really. Not everybody can come in and hit the ground running like Bruno has. And the thing is, as well, is I think fans believe that Van der Beek is not what Bruno is. They are two very different number 10s. Bruno is a ball carrier. Okay, he's a ball carrier number 10. Van der Beek, he's a pass and move number 10. Very, very different. And that's something that fits Ajax, and that's something that doesn't quite fit our system at the moment. But I think, it's all about longevity. It's not going to happen overnight, like I say, every week. And I think that the longer the time goes on, when he's had a bit more exposure to the team, when he's got a few more minutes, you'll see him integrated into the team far better, and it will happen at some point. I do not believe that he will be leaving. I do not believe that he is so unhappy that he wants to leave. Of course, if you're not playing a pivotal role in your job, whether that's football or something else, of course you're going to be upset about that. And when you're in the limelight at a huge club like United, like you said earlier, of course you're going to be pissed off with that. But he will get his opportunities. There will be injuries. Pogba may go at the end of the season, which I'm not so sure about now. I don't think anyone will be able to afford him. And I think he will stay for another year at least. It's going to be very difficult, and he will get his chance. Listen, as I've said, I am a massive, massive fan of Donny van der Beek, and I honestly believe, more hope than anything, that he will come good. It's just been unfortunate for him so far.
I also think we're kind of waiting on that defensive midfielder, a bit like what Kagiso said there. I think because if we play Donny as 2 8s with him and Bruno, or him and Pogba, whatever, I think that's where we use him the best. I think that's sort of what we're building towards, but we'll see. As Ugly Bear says.
We've said this so many times. You and I have had this discussion many times. You're absolutely right. And whoever said that comment Kagito, he's absolutely spot on. As soon as you can get that lone defensive midfielder that can do the job of Matic and Fred plus more, you can play. We can go back to a 4-3-3 system. At the moment, we cannot play a 4-3-3 system like a lot of other teams do, and we can't play that fluid football where we go from the back of the midfield further forward because of that reason. So once we have that man to be able to anchor that midfield, shore up the defense, you will see a lot more fluidity going forward as well. And it means that you can have two players like Van der Beek, Pogba, and all that, like I said. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Finally, before we go into the final bit of the show, we've beaten Milan today. We beat Sociedad in the last round. Hopefully, we get a little bit of an easier draw. I mean, we're in the quarterfinals. So is there really an easy draw? But you'd hope for a little bit of an easier opponent. But how confident are you now going into the future rounds? Because we're getting closer to that semi-final stage. Now, we make this big deal of the semi-final because we've lost those 3 semi-finals previously. But there is a positive to say that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has reached at least the quarterfinals in every cup competition he's been with us in so far. And there's a level of consistency there. How much do you think it's going to take for us to go one step further and reach a final, reach a cup?
I think we have to take it one game at a time. I say this every week. It's great to still be in 2 competitions. We desperately need that trophy. We desperately need to keep that top, that second spot. If we can push a little bit further up and, get onto some sort of hill of Man City, then great. But we just need to stay there. We need to keep doing what we're doing, probably find our feet a little bit more. But we need to be in these competitions. And whilst the FA Cup doesn't seem to have as much value anymore, and obviously the Europa League doesn't seem to have as much value as the Champions League, and I can totally understand that. These are perfect opportunities to break those ducks, quite honestly. And whilst it's easy for us to sit here and say, look, he's got to 3 semi-finals and lost all of them. Yeah, that's just statistics. That's not just a common thing. That's not something to be worried about. He will get to semi-finals, whether it's at United or somewhere else, and he will win them. He will get to finals, whether it's here or somewhere else, hopefully, and he will win them. But I said this many weeks ago that Europa League should be something we go for, because that's exactly a competition that we can break that duck. And, the further we get into the competition, which we're doing, we've knocked out 2 big teams, the more we have to take it a lot more seriously. And I think that Ollie's taken it seriously all the way through. I think he means business, and I believe that he wants to go on and win that. And I do not blame him. And we should be. You're absolutely right when you said earlier that United being in top 4 and being in these competitions is a good thing. And we've got to make progress. And you're absolutely right. And I think that we really should push on. I think that these 2 trophies against Leicester at the weekend, if we win that this weekend, semi-final into a final, right?
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
So we could be having a completely different conversation. It's very easy, as I said, to sit here and say, look, he's lost all 3. But we might be having a different conversation on Saturday, and then that will be scratched and never talked about again. So he's just going to have to take it one game at a time, win it, and then we'll have that conversation again.
Definitely. Thank you, Mark, for coming on.
Welcome,
everyone, go follow Mark as well. And I'm sure you know his face by now. He'll be back on very, very soon. So cheers. See you in a bit, mate.
No worries, mate. Thank you.
Our last guest is Abdel. He'll be coming on in just a sec. But before that, I want you to hit the like button. We are currently on 26, if my Wi-Fi is correct. If not, it should be a little bit more. Let's see if we can get to 30 likes by the end of this video. That would be fantastic. And also, Skeptic, no. The Europa League anthem is not better than the Champions League anthem. Trust me, I've been to far too many games where I've had to listen to that anthem and hear absolutely... Put it this way, at the end of the Champions League anthem, the entire stadium gives you a big roar, no matter who you're playing against. In the Europa League, you hear the end of the anthem and you just go, yeah, sound. No one likes it. No one likes listening to it. No one likes being there at the ground. You just stood there and going, well, fuck, right then. We're watching Europa League football. That's how it is. Kagiso's saying, I have this feeling that Ole will win the Europa League, FA Cup, and will be second. Mate, if that happens, I might not be allowed on Alpha United. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to bring on Abdel now, who's laughing at me in the background because he knows I'm right. I'm bringing him on now. Abdel, a good win for United. Not the best performance, obviously, but a job done. In terms of how we set up today, there was a lot of criticism about the lineup today. What did you think about that? Do you think we should have maybe changed something, or do you think we started as well as we could have done?
No, I think pretty much a lot of people expected this lineup. I don't know why would there be any complaints about it, because I did not think Ollie was going to risk Donny, Pogba, and all these coming back from injuries, because you need them for the rest of the season, or if he needs them to work on something in the international break, given they don't go to the international matches. But so I expected a cameo from Pogba. Maybe Donny would come on as well, like, in the second half, depending on how good or bad are we doing. So I wasn't surprised, and I don't think anyone should be, really.
Yeah, and with regards to how the midfield performed, I want to talk about the comparison between before and after Pogba came on.
Yeah.
What differences tactically did you see between the two halves?
We changed the system, really, because when Ollie puts Pogba on the left-hand side, as we've seen before, like when we played against Liverpool, when we played against Leipzig in the game we lost, but when he puts him on the left-hand side, Pogba doesn't really play like a left winger. He plays it, again, like I've said a lot of times before, like a more of a 4-2-2-2. That in possession, when we have the ball and we're transitioning, it becomes like a 4-2-4, except that Luke Shaw is allowed more freedom than Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and he bumps forward as much as he can, so it becomes more of like a 3-2-5, depending on how you want to see it. So Pogba today, and I think even more than the two previous games where he did the same thing, Ollie putting him on the left, the front four were very, very fluid. Like, Pogba was in all four positions in that 45 minutes. And he played on the right, he played in the center, he played as a striker, he played at the left winger. And the same for every one of them. The same for Bruno, same for Daniel James, the same for Greenwood. So that concept won't go away with Ollie. He loves that idea of confusing defenders. Wait, I'm on Daniel James now. Oh wait, I'm on Greenwood now. Oh wait, I'm on Paul Pogba now. Because they have to change their mind quickly on how to defend each one of them, because each one of them is very different than the other, and they will attack you differently. So I don't think that will change. That was good, because also what Pogba brings you when he comes on is another buddy in midfield, another buddy inside when he tucks in. And we were having problem with that, because AC Milan crowded, like, they would try to drag us to one side. For example, they tried it a couple of times with our right-hand side, because they knew we were good defensively. So they would try to crowd us in that area, and their number 10, I don't know how to say his name, Kanagalu, something like that.
Kalanoglu, I think.
Yeah, I get it wrong. Anyway, he drops in into these pockets when they crowd us in one area, and they're able to pick up a pass for him. And this is where we got our pressing a little bit wrong. And Ali, I think at one point in the game, he actually, I don't know if you heard him, but he was actually guiding Greenwood and Dan James on who to mark and when to mark each time. So at times, and actually Rashford as well. So at times they would forget that they need to tuck in to make that pressing box, right? And I was like, Rashford, drag him inside. Rashford, go inside. The same thing he did for Dan James when he forgot a couple of times and he stayed wider than he should have been, and is like, tuck inside. So they were getting the handle of us in the first half on that with that issue, with that idea. When Pogba came in then, and because we were misplacing passes, because we were like, you can see that the pressure was on them to score, so we were rushing a lot of things. So Bruno was misplacing a lot of passes, Fred was misplacing passes, Scott was misplacing passes, and when we do that, naturally you're going to invite pressure. Like, AC Milan doesn't really have to do much to gain the ball back, because we're already giving it to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when Pogba came in, we retained the ball more. We gained more possession. It was 50-50 still, but the point when we had possession, we had good possession, not bad possession, if you know what I mean, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's a similar theory to, I think it's been going around the internet for the last couple of days when
Yeah.
Pep explained his inverted wingbacks in
Yeah.
terms of an extra body in the middle. It helps you retain the ball a little better, lets you
Yeah,
progress. I think
exactly.
that's why Pogba does that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in the comments talking about Dan James and Marcus Rashford. Now, Dan James, I want to ask you about him because he's getting a few more opportunities now. Do you think that's because of just rotation purposes, or do you think he's actually earned a possibility of getting into this team? What is he doing that allows him to get into this team for you?
I think it's more than he just scored a couple of goals in a couple of games. It's more actually Dan James makes our press more organized and makes us more solid defensively as well, because Dan James has the best work rate out of all the 11 on the field. He
Yeah.
works his socks off, you know, both offensively and defensively. You can criticize him and critique him as much as you want on some of the decisions he make when he gets inside the box. You know, like today he was supposed to square it for Greenwood and he decided he would take on a shot and it was the wrong decision, something like that. But he puts the other team under pressure all the time, you know,
Yeah.
because he just does not quit. He's kind of like Fred, but a forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he actually keeps the press organized. So Dan James follows when he knows exactly when to tuck in, when to not tuck in, when to stay on his man and when not to stay on his man. If he goes out to press, he keeps his awareness very high on where the man behind him is, the one he's covering with his shadow. So in these things, James makes us more organized, makes us more stable as a team. So this is the value he brings. Like it's far more than just the final decision thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think Ollie puts a lot of importance on how someone reacts off the ball as well, which is why maybe Dan James is coming into the team. And another point that Ugly Bear makes, the signing of Amad Diallo potentially giving him a kick up the arse. Do you think that has anything to do with the extra competition?
No, because Dan James should be a left winger, really, not really a right winger.
Yeah.
If anything, he's a backup to Rashford. That's all.
Do you think it's that simple? Because of the last couple of seasons, he's had a lot of time on the right wing, hasn't he?
Yeah, because we depend on Rashford kind of thing, and we don't really have a right winger at all. Now, Dan James, if you followed his short career before Manchester United, before he joined us, he played quite a few times on the right wing, and he played quite a few times on the left wing, and for Swansea, and he was good. Dan James actually decision making is not terrible. It needs improvement. And I think the idea of being in Manchester United and the pressure, and he needs to perform every single week, I think it got to him, and especially that he burst into the scene kind of like super fast, and he scored a couple of goals for us. So it's like, oh, I need to do this every single day, and when you try to force something, you're not gonna always get it right, and that's what he was I think what he was struggling with, because he was trying to force his decisions. He was trying to make things happen forcibly, not naturally, and but I don't think it has to do with anything has to do with Ahmad. It's just the pressure of being at a bigger club, at the expectation, the change in the system, and the change of opponents that he has to come up against. It takes a lot of adjustment. It's not easy,
Yeah, and finally, before I begin to wrap up the show, I want to ask you the question I've asked everyone else.
Donny?
We've not Donny, but we're not going to get into that because that's going to take us far too long. In terms of the rest of the tournament, we've beaten Sociedad, we've beaten Milan. Who is left that you think that would pose as a threat, and do you think we have a real chance of winning this tournament? Because Ajax is still about.
Yeah, Ajax are good, but I think we can contain them, no problem. And Roma is good, but also I think we can do a good job with them. I think it would be Arsenal.
Really?
Yeah. I think. Look, I know people laugh at Arteta and they're 10th and blah blah blah, and we all make jokes and make fun of them, but they're a good team. they're actually like a good team, and they're not easy to beat. He made them so not easy to beat. The biggest improvement in them is how they build up from the back, which is very impressive if you really pay attention to what they do. But I mean, come on, like we can't take them lightly, because they were shit for like some part of the season. But it was understandable. But he was suffering from the same thing Ollie was suffering with. He didn't have a really good number 10 to make him chances. And now with the emergence of Smith Rowe and Martin Odegaard, whether coming on the left hand side or centrally, it helped them a lot. It really helped them a lot. So they can pose a threat. Like don't like underestimate them. I'm not saying they're gonna definitely beat us, but they will pose a threat if we meet them in the final, or that we come out against them next team.
Very interesting, especially because Ollie's not beaten Mikel Arteta yet, so that might be very interesting. Anyway, thanks for coming on, mate. Thank you very much. Everyone, go follow Abdel. Go check out his tactical review, which I'm sure will be out very, very soon. Cheers for coming on, mate, and we'll see you very soon.
Bro. Take care of yourself.
In a bit. Right, that was our final guest. So before we wrap up the show, make sure to like the video. We are on 29 likes, so make sure we hit 30 by the end of the show. I will give you my final thoughts then. United are into the quarterfinal, and that's pretty much it. I don't think you need to take it as anything more than that. There's no need to deep it any further. United needed to win today. We had to score to go through. We scored, and that was enough. Now, the first half wasn't good. So we, again, were poor on the ball. We could have been a lot faster with it, and similar problems were showing. And at halftime, we all said we need Paul Pogba to come on, and he showed just why. He came on and injected a lot of energy into that team. And I thought our midfield looked very balanced as well when he came on. Bruno had a weight off his shoulders, it felt, as well. And we sort of just played football. As simple as that sounds, we just played a bit of football. So, yes, we got the goal from Paul Pogba. It still wasn't amazing. Dean Henderson had to make a couple of good saves. Victor Lindelof put in a man-of-the-match performance, which you don't necessarily want when you're winning a game. You want your attacking players to sort of take that claim. But Lindelof was fantastic, and so was Harry Maguire. And the fullbacks did their jobs as well. But in the end, as a team, we showed that we can get through a difficult tie where we're up against it a little bit. We're going away from home where the other team has that advantage already, and we're sort of expected to go and put in a show. We did that today. We got the win. Now, we've beaten two of the better teams in this tournament already, which means we can be a little bit more confident having claimed two big scalps. There are still some teams after this tournament, Ajax, Arsenal, Roma just being a few of them, and especially Zagreb. Let's not rule them out because of what they did to Tottenham Hotspur. There are teams like that everywhere. You just can't say any team is an easy opposition. So we've got to be wary for whoever we get in tomorrow's draw. But we have to be confident. We've beaten a team. We're into another quarterfinal. Ollie's not failed to do that in any competition. That's consistency. We're all talking about consistency under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He's not failed to reach a quarterfinal yet. That is consistency in its own sense. He might say that, league position is our best way to judge our performance and our progress. Get a cup out of it. You might be thinking a little bit differently towards Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Make sure to stay tuned to All for United. I'll be back on Saturday for All for United Uncut with all your favourite hosts. And of course, all the reaction to Leicester on Sunday. Make sure to like this video. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the performance. Who was your man of the match? Was it Paul Pogba? Was it Victor Lindelof? Was it Dean Henderson? Let me know. Let's see what you think. And of course, at the end of this video, I have to say we are into the quarterfinals, which means that Europa League Champions of the World is still very much on. I'll see you in a bit.